Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blind Tech Guys podcast. I'm going to give 1 second here to make sure that we are live, and we'll start in about a minute. Nope, there's my phone. Very good. Let's go to the YouTube page. View on YouTube. Okay, looks like we are live. Excellent. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this not even early week episode. I can't even call it a midweek. Early week Tech Guys podcast. And this is going to be hopefully relatively brief, but it depends on how long I rant, and Marco might have to tell me to shut up after a while. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm very glad that you guys are here. This is recording on Monday, the 14th of December here in the United States, and probably by the time you listen to this, it may be Tuesday. And very glad to be here with you guys today. Looks like we have 3 people watching, and I appreciate it. Tech Explorers says hello. Hello, Tech Explorers. Of course you're here, and I'm very glad that you're here, and I'm glad everyone else is here as well. And now, the content of today's... I better introduce the other mystery guest. Hello, mystery guest.
Oh, hello, Nimer. Am I in Swahili today or Venezuela?
You might be in Venezuela. Yeah. You
Very
moved
good then.
overnight. Yesterday you were in Swahili.
I did, yeah. I moved. I travel a lot for a world that's generally under COVID conditions
Yes.
at the moment. I just get around like a good Chinese spy. Very good. And
Yes,
hello,
yes.
listeners. It's quite hot here still. We're still up in the 90s. A very humid day here today. Very Indian sort of weather. Not pleasant at all. And hopefully we get, I think we're supposed to get rain, maybe a thunderstorm whilst we are talking. So that'll be
Excellent.
it.
Maybe we'll hear some thunder. Yeah, it's
Indeed.
about 60, 62 today. Quite nice day. About, I don't know, 17, 18, 17, somewhere around there, Celsius. So not too bad.
And I believe we've got a bit of a rough ride coming up here, Nimmer. Some interesting developments in the Samsung world.
Yes. I'm gonna put on my objective hat. I'm going to tell you what's new, what I've noticed, and then I'm going to tell you why you absolutely do not want to upgrade. So stay tuned for my real thoughts.
Oh boy.
Now, what we're talking about is Android 11. Now, Android 11 for Pixel devices, and Google has released it back in September. It has been released, and Samsung devices, it is rolling out. Now, it has been in beta for a while, but it is just now rolling out to devices. I know that, for example, the S20 series and the Note 20 series are seeing the update in many regions. If you haven't seen it yet, you will be seeing it, and it is on Samsung devices. So, what is new in Android 11? We have a podcast on that. You might want to go back. We've actually talked about it a few times about some of the new things that Google has brought to the table in Android 11. Those would be things to do with notification being laid out a bit differently, showing more of a conversational view in notifications. Those would be changes to permissions, privacy stuff, changes to scope storage, changes to accessibility with bringing
The
on
gesturing.
multi-finger gestures.
Yeah.
And so we did talk a lot about those things. And so today I'm going to really focus on what's new with Samsung, and I'm going to tell you what's new, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about what's new. We have 5 people watching. I appreciate you guys. We have one question here from Tedros Marcos. What is the process for Note 20 Ultra? Well, if you wish to update and you're going to want to listen to the rest of this video before you do, but if you wish to update, you're going to go under apps, you're going to go under settings, and I'll demonstrate this actually. Let's go to apps.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can even tell your
Device
Google
unlocked.
Assistant to open it.
1906.
Yep.
Messages. 0 steps. Multiple step. Settings.
Let's go to settings.
Settings. Tips about phone. Tips. Software update.
Go to
Software update.
software update.
Software update. Navigate. Continue update. Check for updates.
And you're going to go to the option that says check for updates. Once you do that, what's going to happen is it will tell you if you have an update, and it will offer to download it. Now, my update was 2.5 gigs, so it is quite a large update.
Yeah, it will be large.
If you have a fast internet, it will go very quickly. Now, it does take quite a while to install. So once you hit the install button, your device will reboot. This is what happens with Samsung devices. Your device will reboot and may reboot a couple of times, and it will go through the update process, and that will take probably a good 20 minutes to half an hour.
Well, my suggestion, Nimmer, is that have before you actually click on that final step to update, just have your device turned right up so you can actually hear when it kicks back in. Go and have yourself a cup of coffee. I don't know. Go and do something. It'll take a while. This one will take good 20, 30 minutes, I'm sure.
Yes. Yep. So, and you will not be able to use your phone while this is going on. You will not have speech. You will not have anything. It will literally be updating. So.
Yeah. So don't be alarmed if it's taking half an hour, especially once it rolls out to the devices, not the S20 series like the S10s and all that. Don't be alarmed if it takes a while. Your phone will be fine.
Ted Rose wants us to talk about the specs and the price of the Note 20 Ultra. I believe we have a podcast on that.
Yeah,
we did.
we've done this.
I think it was a midweek episode actually, and I unboxed it. But it is essentially running the latest of all the specs. 865 processor, very large display, S Pen, 12 gigs of RAM. The best of the best of specs.
You're looking at $900, $1,000 US.
Bunch of
somewhere in that
cameras.
vicinity.
Yeah, about 1,000. Actually, probably 1,100 US. It depends on where you're buying it, but yes. And anyway, we've done an unboxing of that, so I would go back. You can find previous episodes at blindtechguys.com. Yeah,
you want to go back to about August, I believe. August, September. It was a few months back, but we definitely covered that a few months ago. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so what's new in... This is what I've noticed. This is not a full list of actually what's new, because I
will be
have
here all
not been
day.
playing with it all that long. So I am positive that I'm probably missing some things. Okay. The first change it will see is that there's no more, if you're used to voice assistant screen reader, that is no more. There is no more voice assistant screen reader. If you go under apps, under settings, or accessibility, let's do that right now.
Continue update. Disabled.
Let's go back.
Button. Settings. Software update. Apps. Accessibility.
Let's go under accessibility.
Accessibility. Navigate. Recommended for you. Talkback.
So there's Talkback.
Visibility. Hearing.
And you will
Visibility
find that
enhancement.
under...
Recommend. Talkback. Hearing. Interaction and dexterity. Advanced. Installed services.
It'll just show up under
Accessibility.
Talkback.
Recommended for you. Use Talkback.
So it used to say voice assistant, and you have a whole setting called, or a whole option called Vision settings. The option now is just simply states Talkback. Now, I'm not sure if the Vision menu will pop up if I no longer have Talkback on, because it shows up in my recommended section. So it's possible that it does. But as far as I see, there's no Vision section, but there is a Talkback. Okay. That is a change that you will see right off the bat. Now, your notifications will look different as well. So let's pull down the notifications. I'm going to put two fingers on the
NFC
very
on.
top
System
edge,
UI.
and I'm going to drag down.
Notification shade. 1911. Bluetooth on. NFC on. Wi-Fi collapsed. YouTube. 1901. Red Circle Blind Tech Guys podcast. Samsung Android 11 accessibility warning. Live.
So it used to be that notifications were essentially bundled together, and you had to hit expand to view all the notifications for a particular app, such as Twitter or YouTube. And now it shows the first few in the notifications.
Collapsed.
So, for example, I'm just going to keep going.
YouTube. 1649. Red Circle THE. Collapsed. Red circle Sneed Mobile Tech. YouTube. 1544. Expand. Button.
And then there's an expand button. So it shows like 3 videos, and then it shows an expand button so you can expand all the different notifications in that app category.
Collapsed.
Yeah, I don't know what I think of that.
Red circle
That's interesting.
Collapsed. YouTube.
And then it
17.
shows a few more,
Collapsed. Twitter
and then
beta.
there's another
Notification set.
expand,
Collapsed.
and I'll keep dragging up my...
Notification setting. Collapsed. Notification set. Collapsed. Collapsed. Twitter beta. 24 more notifications. Collapsed. YouTube. Set collapsed. Collapsed. Amazon Halo. 1329. Collapsed. HiMRAA. Your DoorDash. 12. Home.
Okay.
Button. Navigation bar.
So, as you will see, the notifications are laid out a bit differently.
Back. But.
Um,
Talkback.
Definitely something to get used to.
Bit messier,
And-
I think, Nimmer, from the look of it.
A bit, yep, a bit, a little bit more cluttered, but, you
Yeah.
know, something to get used to, and some people may like it. I actually, I think, preferred the old method of notifications.
Yeah, I got
but
used to all the notifications being bundled together, so I think I
I
agree.
think, I think this is just what we have to deal with at this point. So, now, what else is new in terms of settings here? We have...
Hearing enhancement. Interaction. Back.
Let's go
Button.
back. There's
Navigation
not really
bar.
much new in terms of accessibility other than, well, I'm gonna talk about accessibility in a minute. So I'm gonna move on from accessibility for just 1 second. Let's see what else is new in Android 11.
Set. Tips and help. Software.
There's
General management. Language and apps. Default. Battery and device care. Storage memory.
There was a section that used to just be called device care, and now it's called battery and device care, storage, and memory. So if I go in here, it does look a little bit different.
Device care. Navigate. Device care. Search. Button. Care report. Button.
There's something called a care report. So if I go into this care report, there we
Care
go.
report. Restart history.
It'll show me my restart history,
Last auto restart.
last auto restart,
Last manual restart.
last manual
The fourth of this-
restart.
Check out the apps that have been put to sleep to save battery. Check sleeping apps. Button. How heat affects your
I
battery.
could check
Extended usage
sleeping
in very hot
apps.
en-
I can
Check
find out how
affects
heat
your
affects my
Extended
battery.
usage in very hot environments can reduce battery performance and life. Navigate up.
Let's go back. So that's my care
Device
report.
Care. More. 91. 1. Close background. Battery. 7 hours.
Otherwise,
40.
it looks
Storage.
very similar. The battery, the
56.7
storage, the
6.8
memory,
gigabyte. Optimize now.
and then there's an optimize button, and I can go into any of those categories: battery, storage, or memory,
Close background apps and run checks.
and
91. Close
access
battery.
those settings. Now, if I go into battery,
Battery. 66% of 7 hours 44 minutes.
It'll tell me how much
usage
time
since
is
last
left.
full 6 hours
It'll give
59
me my
minutes. 7
usage.
hours 40 battery use. Estimated time. A full charge will 11 hours 40 power saving mode. Off. Power save background usage
I've
limits.
got power
Wireless
saving
power
mode.
sharing. More battery settings.
wireless power sharing, and more battery settings. Let's go in here because there's something new in here
More
that
battery settings.
I'm gonna show
Navigate
here.
up. More adaptive battery. Limit battery usage for
Adaptive
enhanced
battery.
processing. Get faster data processing for the most demanding apps and games. Uses more battery. Off. Switch.
Enhanced data processing. Now, this is a setting that I actually want to turn on.
Enhanced processing. Get faster data processing for the most
Get
demanding apps
faster
and games.
data processing
Uses
for
more
the
battery.
most demanding
Switch.
apps and games, and this will actually make it so that your phone doesn't always turn on and off 5G randomly. This, you may want it off if you really want to save your battery, but if you like having full performance of your device, this is a setting that you want to turn on.
Show battery percentage on. Switch. Show charging information. Show battery level
show
and estimated time until full when
Battery,
always on.
show charging percentage. Those are always there.
Fast charging on. Super fast charging. Fast wireless charge on. Fast wire.
All those
Navigate
other
up.
settings were there.
Super fast charge.
Let's see what else is new.
Device care. Back.
Okay.
One UI home. Weather. Messages.
Let's start focusing a little bit more on accessibility. Here's one of the first things that I'm seeing. So if you're used to using Bixby,
Streaming text.
where do you live?
I didn't understand.
Bixby voice. Streaming text. Where do you live?
Now, what did you guys notice there? Could you guys, I don't know if you guys heard that or not. Let me see if I can turn up the volume of Bixby. Hello there, how are you?
I hear you loud and clear.
Bixby voice. Hello there. How are you? Streaming text.
What's up?
I couldn't find what.
Bixby voice. Streaming text WhatsApp. Volume set to 60. Home.
Okay, so what do you guys
UI.
notice there with Bixby?
Messages.
You notice anything, Marco?
Well, it's not really understanding you very well there, Nimmer. Are you speaking in Dutch or something?
No, I think the bigger issue is that Talkback cuts it off.
Yeah, and you're not
So-
hearing the end of it. Yeah.
You're not hearing what it's actually saying. So if you're used to using Bixby, the only way to use Bixby right now is to turn off Talkback. If you do not turn off Talkback, Bixby is absolutely useless. It will not work.
So will Bixby work better in terms of understanding you if you turn off Talkback, or is that something that Talkback's affecting for some reason?
No, well, Bixby generally understands me, and it understood me that time. But you wouldn't hear the full results. So let's turn Talkback off, actually. I'll show you.
Yeah, let's see what it
here.
sounds like. Yeah.
Talkback off.
Maybe turn it up a bit.
How
too.
are you doing?
I'm doing well. Nimer Jaber, thanks.
Where do you live?
I live in a magical place where emoji run wild. It's the internet.
Okay, so as you notice, Bixby works just fine. There's no problem with Bixby. It works as Bixby works. If you like Bixby, that's fine. If you don't like Bixby, that's fine. Oh. Where are you?
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, it's about as useful as Google then. Good.
Yeah, it generally works pretty well. It didn't understand me that time because it triggered itself while I was talking, in the middle of talking.
Yeah.
But it generally understands me okay. But,
Yeah.
whether you like
I
it or
can't
not...
say that
is-
I
is-
use it, so I guess it's up to each individual, though.
Yeah,
Some
it's up
people
to
like
each
it, some don't.
individual. But now, if you want to use it with Talkback on, you cannot use it. It does not work.
No,
So
that's terrible.
let's turn it back on.
Talkback on. Home. But
Okay.
One UI home. Weather.
You still have the ability to use the Talkback, the 2-volume shortcut, or you still have the ability to use power up and the power button and volume up to
Volume.
turn it on. It's up to you, and you can configure it in the same way in the accessibility settings. Now, there's a lot new with this version of Talkback. We have multi-finger gestures, and one of the things that you'll notice is some of the menu options in the Talkback menu have been removed. So let's go into the global context menu, and I'm going to do that. There's 2 ways that you can do that. You can do a
Talkback menu.
angle
Read
gesture,
from next item.
which is a down and right swipe,
Talk. Cancel.
and this is called the
One
Talkback
UI
menu.
home. Weather.
You can also trigger the same menu with a
Phone.
swipe up and right.
Phone.
Oops.
Home.
Let's
button.
go back home.
One UI home. Phone. Talkback menu.
There we go.
Actions.
So swipe up and right,
Talk. Cancel.
and
One UI home. Phone.
a third way to bring this menu up is with a 3-finger single tap.
Talkback menu. Actions.
Okay.
Talk. Screen search. Talk. Text.
So what
Talk
options do we
actions.
have here? We have actions.
Read from next item.
Read from next item. You will notice that read from top is gone.
Copy last utterance to clipboard.
Copy last utterance to clipboard.
Spoken language.
Spoken language, you will notice that spell last utterance is gone.
Screen search.
Screen search.
Hide screen.
Hide screen.
Text to speech settings.
Text to speech settings.
Cancel button. Talkback
Oh,
settings.
there's talkback settings and then cancel. Okay. Those options aren't actually gone. The way that you want to
Email. 7 new message. Text. Talkback set.
is
Talkback settings.
let's go into
Navigate up
talkback
button.
settings.
Speak sound feed. Sound audio vibrant. Audio ducking. Sound feedback off. Switch.
And I'm going to turn sound feedback on so you hear what's going on
On.
while I swipe.
Sound feedback volume. Audio ducking. Decrease other sound. 50% of speech. 75% of match speech volume.
There we go.
Talkback settings. Sound feedback volume. Match speech. Audio ducking. Vibration feedback. Controls. Customize gestures. Customize menus.
So what you can
Wow.
do here is you can customize the menus. So let's go into customize menus.
Customize menus. Navigate up.
And what you're going to find is a lot of the options that we're missing, actually you can re-add in the menu, or you could take away some that you don't want.
Customize talkback menu. To use the talkback menu, tap the screen with 3 fingers. You can also swipe up then right, or swipe down then right.
Okay.
Customize reading menu. To use customize
So let's go to the talkback
customize
talkback menu.
Navigate up. Actions for current item. Heading. Checked. Checkbox. Actions shows when custom actions exist for the current item.
Okay, so actions, that's an option that we can have in the menu.
Checked. Checkbox. Editing options.
Editing
Copy.
options.
Paste. Checked. Checkbox. Links. Open links within a focus. Not checked. Checkbox. Page navigation. Go to the next or previous page. Shows when you were reading content
Now
with
you'll
multiple
notice
pages.
this option has been unchecked.
Checked. Checkbox. Add or edit label. Not checked. Checkbox. Change slider. Update the number or percentage of a slider.
Change slider. That one is not in the menu. Now you can do this by swiping up and down with one finger when you're focused on a slider, but otherwise this menu option is not there.
Navigation. Heading. Not checked. Checkbox. Navigation. Read by. Edit navigation options. Reading control. Not checked. Checkbox. Read from top. Starting from the top.
Read
all
from
items on
top.
screen.
Now this option has been missing, but if you want to add it, you can add it by checking
Checked.
that box.
Checkbox. Read from. Checked. Checkbox. Not checked. Checkbox. Spell last spoken phrase. Spell each letter of the last phrase that
Good. So
Talkback
you
said.
can add those back in.
You can add those.
Yeah.
The spells last spoken phrase is probably useful, so I'm going to check that one.
Checked. Not checked. Checkbox. Repeat last spoken phrase. Hear the last phrase that Talkback said again.
And I'll check that one too.
Checked.
Why not?
Checked. Checkbox. Spoken language. Change your spoken language. Shows only when you have multiple text-to-speech languages installed. Special features. Heading. Checked. Checkbox. Screen search. Enter it. Checked. Checkbox. Hide or show screen. Hide the display. Other. Heading. Checked. Checkbox. Talkback settings. Open. Checked. Checkbox. Text-to-speech set. Not checked. Checkbox. System actions. Go to all apps. Quick settings and use split screen.
So as you notice, you can customize your menu so that you can remove and add any of the items that you want in the menu.
button,
So things that you
navigation
don't
bar.
use, you can remove. You can also do
Customize
this.
menus. Customize talk. Customize reading menu. To use the reading menu, swipe left or right with 3 fingers. You
The
can also
reading
swipe up or
menu.
down with
Now,
3 fingers.
You will notice that the reading menu is what is called essentially that where you used to be able to switch through granularity options. Also in Samsung devices, you used to be able to do things like screen curtain or whatever
Yeah,
they're
the curtain,
dark
whatever it
screen
is.
Calendar syncing.
a few things like that. So let's go into this thing.
Customize reading menu.
Reading
Navigate
menu.
up. Custom reading controls. Heading. Checked. Checkbox. Characters.
Characters.
Read one. Checked. Checkbox. Words. Read.
Words.
Not checked. Checkbox. Lines. Read one line at a
Lines.
time. Checked. Checkbox. Paragraphs. Read one paragraph at a time.
Paragraphs.
Not checked. Checkbox. Headings. Jump between headings.
And you can check all of these as you want. I want headings.
I
I
want
don't know why
those.
that one's
Yeah,
unchecked,
that's-
so I'll check it.
Checked.
And I
Checked.
want lines.
Checkbox.
I would have
Controls.
lines
Jump
as
between
well.
items you can interact with. Checked. Checkbox. Links. Jump between links. Not checked. Checkbox. Landmarks. Jump between. Checked. Checkbox. Speech rate. Change how quickly Talkback speaks.
And
Not checked.
so all
Checkbox.
these settings,
Verbosity. Change weather typed keys. Checked. Checkbox. Spoken language.
You
Change
can
your spoken
easily change.
Special features. Heading. Not checked. Checkbox. Hide screen. Hide the display so your screen. Not checked. Checkbox. Audio ducking. Lower volume of other audio playing.
okay.
Okay, so it's similar to the Google
Customize
Talkback
menus.
then.
Customize reading. Navigate up.
Yes.
Button.
Now,
Yeah.
two things that are that you should know.
Talkback settings. Customize menus.
When I first installed this update, I'm used to typing with tap to lift. So when I type, I use tap to lift. So as soon as I type a letter, as soon as I touch a letter, I just lift my finger, and that letter is typed. Now, as soon as I updated, that got changed, and it got changed to double tap. The way that you're going to want to change
Home
this
button.
back
Navigate.
is
Apps.
you're going to go into the settings.
Search. Multiple stats. The settings. Search. Settings.
Here we go. Settings.
Settings. Connections.
Let's go under
Advanced
accessibility.
Features. General accessibility. Talkback. Accessibility. Navigate up. Button.
And let's go under Talkback.
Visibility and Talkback. Talkback. Navigate up. Talkback shortcut. On. Settings. When Talkback is on. Setting. On. Talkback shortcut. Hold Talkback. On. Talkback
Let's
settings.
see. Are we going
Talkback
to
settings. Speak sound feedback. Sound by customize.
Oh, yeah. Talkback settings.
Talkback.
Okay.
Open Talkback in the Galaxy Advanced. Focus indicator.
Now, under Advanced, we have Focus Indicator, and this is for low vision users so that you can adjust your focus when you switch focus with Talkback, where what color that focus
indicator.
is.
Navigate
So
up. Thick borders off. Switch.
you can
Color.
enable
Heading.
thick borders, or you can change the color.
Not checked. Red. Radio button.
And you'll notice this is a feature from the old voice assistant
Back. But
that is not
Talkback settings. Focus indicator.
in the existing version of Talkback.
Custom labels. Single tap activation.
But if you want to
Experimental
do
single tap typing on.
single
Switch.
tap typing, this is where you're going to have to go under the advanced section of the Talkback settings, and it says single tap typing. It is automatically off. If you want to turn it back on, you have to go in here to turn that back on.
Keyboard shortcuts.
Okay.
Back.
That's quite annoying that they would just
Talkback.
assume that you want that
Settings.
turned off. Why wouldn't they just leave that setting alone?
Yeah,
It's
I'm
really
not sure.
irritating. Yeah.
Now, a couple of more things that I've noticed, and these are kind of annoyances, and one of them is more so than others. Anytime I get a notification and my phone is in my pocket, and I get that notification and it comes through, my phone will read out the notification and then it says edge lighting. Now, why would I care about edge lighting? I don't want to know that. That's not something I care about. The bigger one is the lack of braille screen input. Now, if you're using Talkback, since this is Talkback, we assume that Talkback is Talkback, and Talkback has all the same features that Google's Talkback has, except there's no braille screen input, and there's no way to enable braille screen input. So, if you want to use braille screen input on Samsung devices and Android 11, you're going to have to load commentary, and you're going to have to load something like the advanced braille keyboard, or you'll have to load a third-party keyboard and turn Talkback off when you want to type, because those things are self-voicing.
Wow.
So
So what you're saying is that the talkback that we get with Samsung is not actually the talkback that we're getting with the Pixel devices.
no, there are
essentially.
similarities, but no, unfortunately not, because some features are definitely missing, and some annoyances exist that really should not exist with this version of Talkback. But if you're a low vision user, you also get things like focus indicators, which are helpful. So you take your pick. Is it good or bad? I don't know.
And the other thing, just whilst we're talking about talkback and screen readers, I haven't had this 100% confirmed because it seems like the commentary screen group list doesn't seem to want to answer a question straight at the moment. But there have been quite a lot of issues that I know of reported using commentary on Android 11 with Samsung devices as well. So for those of you that think you might be able to get around it using commentary, you might want to just think again. But as I just said, unfortunately, I'm not getting a lot of straight answers from that particular group. So if you are listening, maybe provide a little bit more feedback as to what's going on there as well, commentary guys.
Now, a couple of things I've noticed right off the bat. When I installed the update, my Talkback has gotten a bit more sluggish than it used to be.
Yeah, it sounds laggy, Nimmer, even when you're using it there.
It has gotten a little bit more sluggish than it was. Now, it's not horrible, and as the day's gone on, I've adjusted, of course, but really it's not great. And it is noticeable from the time that you start updating to the time that you finish updating. There is a noticeable delay in using the screen reader. And as you guys, some of you may know, I've railed on this for years, and I think actually Android and generally operating systems in general, when you're running a screen reader, have more lag than they need to. One way that you can test this on an iPhone or an Android is if you turn the screen reader off and you begin touching the screen, you will notice an instantaneous response with whatever you're touching. Now, obviously, you're not going to necessarily get 100% instantaneous response, but I do think screen readers can be made a lot more efficient. And really, to think about it this way, whether you get a phone from this year or you get a phone from 5 years ago, you're not really going to notice much of a difference in terms of responsiveness, in terms of usability of a screen reader. Now, if you're a sighted user, you will certainly notice that there is a big improvement in performance from, especially going that far back.
Oh, and especially if you're using like graphics, visual-wise and stuff like that. Absolutely.
But as a screen reader user, unfortunately, the screen readers have not been optimized for the newest phones, it seems like, because you don't really get much of a performance boost. In fact, it seems like we only get performance hits every year. This kind of happened in iOS when a lot of their new AI features got released with VoiceOver, and it got fixed a little bit, but still there's a performance degradation as compared to older versions. And it's definitely happened with Android. There's definitely a performance degradation, and it's really unfortunate. And I think it's because these developers who are working on the screen reader may or may not be affected by this kind of lag, may or may not notice this kind of thing, and therefore may or may not be willing or able or have the the inclination or the time or the desire to fix it, and probably users don't really notice it because if you're using the same device all the time, you tend to adjust, and you tend to, I'm sure I'm going to get comments that say, well, my device isn't laggy. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, actually, if you turn your screen reader off and you try touching the screen, open a keypad or something where you know what's happening.
Well, actually, Nimmer, the
You
easiest
will
way to do it
notice.
is to use the number pad. The number pad especially, because you can hear with the tones how quickly you can dial on that thing without the use of talkback or commentary. It's just night and day. And if you run your finger across the screen and just type in all the letters, you can hear it going as it goes across. There is no way you can do that with a screen reader.
No.
Absolutely no way.
It's just unfortunate, but that's
Yeah.
just where you are. The lack of features is annoying. The Braille screen input is a huge one for me,
that's
and that's
massive
going
for
to mean
me.
that I cannot
Yeah.
use this device as a primary device anymore. It's actually going to be collecting dust. Either that or I'm going to sell it because, unfortunately, I'm not going to go back to using a device without the Braille screen input.
Why on earth would you not put
And-
that into... that's just craziness. I don't understand why you'd remove that feature.
Yeah.
Like, Braille input for a lot of us is quite important. Now, Braille on Android, let's face it, is pretty poxy anyway, or pretty poor. But Braille input at least was somewhat reasonable. Now they've just completely killed it in like one foul swoop. Craziness.
Yes, and it seems that this is an issue with the Samsung devices, and so I'm hoping that eventually maybe it'll get rectified. But until then, Samsung, if you're listening to me, you've lost a customer. I was going to be first in line to buy that S21. I was very excited about that new modem,
Yeah,
and I
so was
promise
I.
you, I will
Yeah.
not be buying it until your
No.
accessibility is fixed. I will not be giving you another dollar.
Well, in
as
fact,
much as
Nimmer and
like
I
your
were talking
device.
about the S21 over the weekend, and we were both going to be first in line to grab that little baby in the middle of January, but it ain't going to happen now, especially with the removal of, well, for me, like you, Nimmer, Braille input is quite important. That's just craziness. I don't understand why you'd kill that feature. That's just
Yeah,
madness.
and I think users will know that I'm generally, every year I buy all the latest Samsung devices, flagships, and I buy the Google devices, and this year's just the year of saving the moolah. I didn't buy the latest Pixel, and I'm definitely not going to buy the latest Samsung. That's just, I guess my moolah is going to get saved. That's just what
And
it's
the
gonna
other
be.
thing that's very frustrating is that they've named this Talkback now quite clearly. It's not Google's Talkback now. If you try to install the Google Talkback, Nimmer, and I'm sure you'll elaborate quickly on that, you can't actually do so.
Yeah, now I'm not going to go as far to say it's not Google's TalkBack. I think it's just it is Google's TalkBack,
Well, it's
but it has been
modified.
customized, modified for Samsung. So, yes, if you go to the Play Store and you try to install Google Accessibility Suite, which is what TalkBack is called amongst other services in that suite, you will actually find that it is already installed. If you uninstall it, you reinstall it, makes no difference. You cannot activate it. There's no way to activate the Google Accessibility Suite that is on your device that comes from Google. So what you have to use is the one that Samsung provides that is updated and installed using the Galaxy App Store. So there's no way to use, because obviously Google's version does have the Braille screen input. And if you had a Samsung device that was running Android 10, you could use that alongside Voice Assistant. That functionality is now gone. You cannot use them both alongside each other, and therefore you've lost access to the Braille screen input. There's no way to get it back.
And I know some people are going to comment and say, oh, well, there'll be a ROM out and we'll be able to ROM our phone and get around all this. We're looking at it from a point of view of everyday users, people that aren't going to sit there and ROM phones and just want their phone to work properly and easily out of the box. This is a huge, huge step backwards for accessibility on the Samsung side, and a lot of listeners would know how much of a fan of Samsung I am. Well, I don't. Unless they fix this problem, I won't be buying another Samsung device. In fact, it might be back to the iOS train for me, Nimmer. And I didn't think I'd say that. I'm that annoyed
I'm
about
gonna
it.
have to figure out what device. I mean, I think as much as I don't like the fact that LG doesn't get updates, at least it's a pretty decent device. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think for a manufacturer to get my money this year, though, it's going to have to do a little bit better than this year, because this year, frankly, what we've gotten just sucks. Either the accessibility is poor, has really seriously regressed, or the hardware has been very poor, seriously regressed, or both. And I'm not going to fund a company that's going to do that kind of thing. So it's rather unfortunate. Now, if you are using Talkback, or were using Talkback in Android 10, and are now using Talkback on a Samsung device, you will also know, and I'm going to address this really quickly before we end this, your method of navigation has changed. Of course, you can use the multi-finger gestures, three-finger gestures, and all of them are customizable. Or you can use your angular gestures. But in order to switch, for example, from characters to words, change your granularity, you're going to need to use a three-finger swipe left or a three-finger swipe right, or you're going to need to go up and down, for example, an up-down or a down-up gesture in order to change your granularity. And then you're going to need to use a swipe down with one finger to change by that granularity that you've set. So for example, I'm going to unlock my phone.
Device unlocked. 1937. When talk race home, but
I'm just going to go to the
phone.
I'm going to go to my home screen. Now, if I want to change to character granularity,
Links. Controls.
I'm swiping left with three fingers.
Headings. Paragraphs. Words. Characters.
All right, now I'm going to swipe down with one finger.
Capital P. H. O. N. B. Echo.
You will know that this is a big change because Talkback, the way it used to work is you first access, select your granularity by swiping up and down, for example, characters or words, just by swiping up or down, and then you swipe right to move by that granularity. That is no longer the case here. So the whole method of adjusting granularity is more like iOS now.
Yeah.
And more like what Voice Assistant used to be. But this is going to be an adjustment for someone who was using Talkback that all of a sudden gets upgraded and finds himself using the new Talkback. Now there is a good tutorial that comes on immediately after you turn on the phone, so it will guide you through this process, but it's still going to be a change for a Talkback user who is not used to this.
So it sounds like they've taken a few of the features from the Samsung voice and sort of incorporated that into their version of Talkback. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Mark Muscat says, "Good stuff, guys. Disappointed, but this is what happens when manufacturers change the user interface to suit their marketing." I don't know if this is to suit marketing, but I think it's more of to try to... Samsung, of course, wanted to make things easier for Voice Assistant users who were using Voice Assistant, and a lot of these changes are meant to try to make it easier for those people at the neglect of users who were using Talkback, I think. And the fact that they're not allowing for the use of both at this point is just unfortunate. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, what
Moving
would
forward,
be
I'm
interesting
not
to
gonna
know...
speculate on that, but...
What would be interesting to know, Nimer, and you've probably got the ability to do this because you've got the new phone there, is maybe sign up to the Samsung Beta program and see if the Braille thing, especially for me anyway, and I think for a lot of listeners, whether that's been fixed or anything else has been changed, because the way things stand at the moment, it's quite disappointing.
So this is interesting. You can't actually sign up for a Samsung Beta, as you like to say. The Samsung Betas are only in place for an upgrade from one version to the next major version, and they essentially start up in about August, September every year, October every year, and there's essentially, by the time it rolls out to the stable build, there is no more beta.
So we're likely stuck with this for a while then.
We're stuck with this for a while. Soon, as long as it takes for Samsung to update Talkback. Now, I'm sure they could probably update it through the Galaxy App Store, so we're not necessarily stuck for an entire system update, although it's possible. But yeah, I think this is kind of where we're at for a while.
And I think if you're a user and you care about your Braille and you care about certain things, if you are looking at updating to Android 11 on your Samsung and you find a lot of these things frustrating, you've really got to let Samsung know. Really submit feedback because, yeah, this could hang around for a while. This could be very painful for quite a few people, unfortunately.
Yes, and if you're not, if you're unsuspecting, you're not used to this, it's very important that you know. Please actually share this out widely. This is not about getting publicity for us, but it is about making sure that people who try to update their devices are aware of these things before they update. Now, it might be that you just don't care about these things. By all means, go ahead and update. But if you do care about these things, I would definitely say hold off. And I would also say please share this out and make sure everybody that you know knows about these things, so that if they do decide to update, they're not in for a very rude surprise.
Yeah. The other thing that you mentioned to me, Nimmer, whilst we were chatting privately, but you haven't spoken about, and I know a lot of users have been stating issue with this, is the double tap not working properly as well on the Samsung side. Is that something that you've noticed on your end?
Yeah, the gestures I would say are a little bit. They're not horrible, but I would say they're a little bit less responsive. And sometimes you do a double tap, and sometimes nothing happens. It doesn't happen very frequently. It happens enough to be an annoyance, but it doesn't. It's not something that's gonna ruin your. Like if that was the worst accessibility issue that we've had,
You could live with it
we
for
wouldn't
now.
be even
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this
yeah.
on YouTube at the moment. We wouldn't be doing a podcast on it.
Yeah.
It would be a little bit of annoyance, but yeah, combined with all these other issues, yeah, it's definitely there. It's definitely noticeable, and again, just another unfortunate thing here.
All right. Well, we might wrap it up there, Nim, because it's...
Tedros wants to know if we can replicate iPhone gestures,
yes, you can.
and is granularity gesture configurable in Android 11? Yes. So, as you know, I went to Talkback menu. Let's go to Talkback menu here real quick.
Talkback screen hide screen. Spoken language. Talkback settings.
Let's go to Talkback settings.
Talkback settings. For speak sound audio custom help and feedback customize gestures.
Customize gestures.
Customize menu. Customize
There we go.
customize gestures. One finger heading. Reset gesture setting. One finger heading.
And I've got all these different gestures that I can customize.
Swipe up. Previous setting.
Swipe
So
up.
essentially, you
Next
can
setting.
make your Android look and feel like an iPhone all the way through.
To some
pretty
extent,
much.
yes.
Yeah.
But you cannot modify some things. You cannot modify.
yeah.
You can't. There's no rotor.
No.
The equivalent of a rotor is the 3-finger swipe right, left, up, or down, or whatever you choose to be. But you cannot. There's no rotor.
That's fine. I don't miss that.
But there's a lot of customizations that you can do. You can make a lot of the settings work similar to what you have in iOS. Some things there are no, for example, like some of the gestures, there's no tap and holds or triple tap and holds. Think like a triple tap and hold, for example, that doesn't really exist. So it's not quite a parity with iOS gestures. You can't quite customize the same. But there are things in Android that don't exist in iOS, namely the iOS and the scrub gestures, the up, down, up, left, right, left, those kind of things. Those don't really exist in iOS. Well, I guess the scrub does, the left,
The
right.
scrub does, yeah.
But you can't really, I don't know that you can customize it. I have to look. Anyway, to answer your question is you can customize a lot, but you can't completely get it to
You
where,
can't
what
get it
iOS
all the
is.
way across. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but you can do a lot of it.
All right, everybody. We are not using OBS. We're using StreamYard, so I apologize, Ted. But we definitely appreciate you listening. If you're interested in demoing this particular app, we'll be happy to do that on the next episode. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today on this early week episode of the Blind Tech Guys podcast. We apologize to bring this bad news to you, but if you like this content, please like it, share it out, definitely share it out. Retweet it, Snapchat it, Facebook it, whatever, and subscribe. And also to give you a quick update on the giveaway, we are past 8,200 downloads, so
Oh, we're getting there
trucking along on
fast.
that giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
all
Very
right,
good.
everybody. Well, we'll see you guys next time, and we want to thank you for listening to this midweek episode of the Blind Tech Guys podcast. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you, Nimmer. We'll catch you listeners later on in time.